But our supporting cast also evolves and gives you so much more connection to the characters you have. And that only helps the storyline. That increases the drama every time you drop. Welcome back, my friends. My name is Eric. This is Mel7 Gaming, and we are going to adjust the ISO. That's what we're going to do. Welcome back, my friends. My name is Eric. This is Mel7 Gaming, and now that the ISO is adjusted, we're going to talk a little bit about Mechwarrior 5, and specifically, we are going to talk about 330's Pilot Overhaul mod for Mechwarrior 5. So, on the 25th, today is the 27th, I believe. Yeah. So on February 25th, I got a message on the Discord for the Templars Pirates crew making the Mech Clan Invasion, mod. In response to one of my videos saying, FYI, this is from Weapon, I think it stands for Weapon X 330, but WPNX 330. He says, FYI, I'm going to be dropping another large update to the Pilot Overhaul this weekend, which enables lots of options. So you can customize the game to your liking, maximize the amount of positive and negative quirks, difficulty of pilots to gain XP, the rate at the gain XP, the base quality in hiring halls, elites only, rookies only, full range, scaled. Pilot wage modifiers can make them more or less expensive, turn on and off fatigue mechanics, etc., etc. So I decided that even though we've used 330's Pilot Overhaul mod quite a bit, I don't know that we've ever really done a dive on it, and I'm pretty sure I am certain that I have never done a spotlight video for it. But it's rapidly becoming one of those must-have mods for me. If it works with what I'm doing, I use it. A little bit like Coyotes and Vaughn's Biomes. It's just a really, really good, solid mod that adds essentially some RPG mechanics to your characters, which I like a lot. I wish we had more. I wish we had more of that in the game. Skills that people could learn, specialties that we could use. We see more of this within the BattleTech computer game than we do with Mechwarrior 5. And I think that'd be really cool. So right now, the only two mods I have going, we have loaded up are Pilot Overhaul and the Mechwarrior 5 compatibility pack, which is a requirement. I will leave links down below for both of these mods to the Nexus pages. So let's go ahead and jump into options and scroll down just under gameplay here. You will see that there's a Pilot Overhaul section. So there are some mods out there that add mod options, but you don't need that for this. It's already here. So we see the base quality of hireable pilots, scaled to player. Okay, so as you get better, your pilots will get better or worse. I'm not sure how PGI does that initially. I assume it's based on what your training level is, but I don't know if like you have a 43, if that means the pilots are going to have a cap of 43, ish, or if they're supposed to have a base or an existing skill level of 43 that could go, maybe up to 55 or whatever it may be, right? So I'm not exactly sure how that breaks down, but essentially they're using the PGI version of that if it's scaled to player. And it may just be number of days in game or tonnage of mechs, or I have no idea what they use for it. So chance modifier for an injury. So this right now, I'm assuming 1 doesn't change anything. It just goes with whatever the base stats in the game, the base chance that you're going to have an injury is at 1, and you can increase that or decrease that as you want to go. And same for length modifiers for injuries. Whichever direction you want to go, base is just leaving it where it is. Maximum possible negative quirks per pilot, 0 to 14. So you can set that wherever you want. Default's 4. Remember, as they get injured, they pick up these negative quirks. They may start with some, but then they're going to gather more as they go. Now, it does say this is does not affect existing quirks. So I'm assuming that if you start the game and when you hire the character initially, maybe they have 2 quirks, that if you have it set to 4, you would actually end up at maybe a total of 6, like they could gain up to 4 more. That's just purely a guess, though. We'll do a little experiment, I think, on that looking at positive quirks. Maximum possible pilots hired in the hiring hall, 3 to 20. So this is how many pilots are going to be there every time, or whatever the max is, right? You may not get 20, but you could get up to 20 if you set that max up to there. Maximum possible positive quirks, 0 to 14. And again, does not affect existing quirks. And if we go down, pilot quirk cap usage determines if quirk cap maximum options affect both motivation training limits and pilot generation. And this is what I think the negative does, essentially. So we can set it for motivation or pilot generation motivation. Now, my guess is if I say pilot generation and I set my maximum number of perks at 3, I will say 2. That means total 2. It doesn't matter. They're not going to have more than 2 no matter what. They're not going to be generated with more than 2. They're not going to be able to train if they've already got 2. That's it. Whoops, we scrolled up a little bit too far. We're not going to be able to add more than that, right? Whereas if we have it on motivation, that means they start with whatever they start with, whatever that range is. And I don't see that as an option to set in here. If he's already got or she already has 2, but we have it set this way for motivation, then we could learn up to 2 more available, right? So if they say they've got 3 option slots now, we would be able to go up to 5, for instance, by taking that, I've got the time and I train and up you go. That's my guess. And what I want to do is I want to start one, we'll just say pilot generation and motivation. And we'll put it at 2. We should be able to see a pilot with 2 in there. We'll just do a random drop. So I think that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. I like being able to say that your pilots can get better, but I don't want to see those pilots that you start with on day 1 become, have, your max is 60, as you play this game, all of a sudden you get pilots with 90 skill, right? Or whatever it may be. I don't hate it per se. I mean, you have to spend the time, you have to spend a significant amount of money. So I guess it's not a terrible thing. And it was always self-regulating, right? If you didn't have to have a cap here. You could just say, look, none of my characters are gonna go 3 more than what they start with, and just go with that, right? It might be interesting if you're playing with the clan. Maybe there'll be a clan mod to this where maybe they could hardwire something in, or you could click something here where pilots for the clan factions are allowed to have more number of quirks. They get generated with, say, 4 quirks, whereas your inner sphere pilots get generated with 1, to show that additional training and cultural relevance, that being a Mechwarrior has within that culture. That might be a fun way to kind of do that, to kind of cover some of that additional stuff. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then obviously you can train up, right? IS pilots clearly caught up with their clan compatriots or opposition, at some point. But to give you that initial benefit, maybe that would be fun to look at. Or, maybe if you're playing as a clan during the clan invasion, you can think of this as your way of building that into the game. Your pilots can get significantly better than the pilots, the AI pilots that are out there running around. Anyway, just my thoughts. One thing I do like, this Mech Affinity modifier, and I didn't realize that was in here. I was just thinking about that earlier today. I really like this, where in Battletech, the computer game, where the more you pilot a mech, the more affinity you get with it and the better you get in it. You get some sort of bonuses with it. I really like that idea. And it just makes perfect sense, right? I mean, anybody who drives, let's look at race car drivers or aircraft pilots, right? You learn the quirks of that machine and you get better with it. You're more comfortable with it. You know how it feels when things are happening a certain way. It just makes sense. Something as complicated as a mech, every mech's going to have its quirks, not just the type of mech, but that individual chassis is going to have its quirks, right? And having techs and pilots that understand those are going to make them perform better within that. So I love that. Let's see. Modifies required mission count to achieve each level. 4 times requires more than 200 missions for mastery. Default setting at 1 is 50. So if you do 50 missions in that mech, you get mastery. And I think that's probably about right. I don't hate that. It means you're not really probably going to see that. Well, I don't know. I don't really know how many missions I do in a full, like, normal storyline campaign playthrough. That's interesting. But it's off the top of my head, 50 seems like a good default number. Yeah, I like that. Minimum number of pilots in a training hall visit, 0 to 20. So you can say, look, they might not have any, but it might have 20, right? And just leave it up to RNG what you could get. Or say, look, I'm always going to have 1. I'm always going to have 3, whatever it may be. I like that. I think I would like to say 0 to something like, I don't know, like 10 and go full range. You don't know what you could find. Now, excuse me. Now, what you can do is look at that scaled thing and say, well, what you're looking at are the best pilots that are suited to what you have and will work for you, right? So you can say, well, we're just beginning out. We're not going to attract the cream of the crop, right? We're only going to get those lower. And as you get better people applying for the job, right? The little guys are no longer going to say, oh, I could be part of that, right? I'm not going to be trying out to be, a linebacker with the Raiders, right? It ain't going to happen. So, you could look at that kind of that scaling as just, it's not that there's different, those pilots aren't there looking for jobs, but you're not good enough to attract them, or they don't feel they're good enough to apply. So you can kind of think of that as you're looking at your top 3 or 4 guys that applied on Indeed or whatever job site you like, right? But I think I would do something like this. I would just leave it up to RNG and you get what you get. And I think that would be awesome. Now it's going to get you better pilots faster. But that's fine, because realistically, if I can afford those better pilots, then that's fine, right? And somewhere down here, we can change that. So you could make pilots cost a little bit more to say, okay, to stop that mechanic, to give you that full range, but to go, well, at this point, we really can't afford that type of pilot. I better take the cheaper person and give you that sort of thing. I think that would be a lot of fun. Quirk cap usage, we talked about that. Modifier for number of training options in industrial sectors. So default setting is 1, range of missions is 3 to 5. That's the things you can get to increase your skills, right? It says, energy and ballistics increased by 1, or shielding increases by 5, or whatever it may be. And you know what? I'm fine with that number being small. I think that I kind of like that. I think the standard default was pretty good. I might lower that a little bit. Say, look, this place is really good at this. They've got a trainer that does this really well. Training with him legitimately is going to increase it. And keeping that number small so you don't get to sit in there and, have 15 options, right? You have to check each place and figure out what you want and where you want. So I might keep that low. A pilot wage modifier. Pilot XP gain difficulty modifier. How hard it is to get award experience. I assume you just leave it at 1. They're going to gain experience just as they do in the vanilla game right now. Make it harder, easier. If you're giving yourself the opportunity to get better pilots, and then maybe you make this a little bit more difficult. So you can jump that and get those better pilots, but pilots don't get significantly better. After all, you've also got Mech Affinity up here, giving them some sort of bonuses for mastery, which should be pretty cool. So, maybe you balance that out. And fatigued after missions, check it or uncheck it, right? There's other mods out there that will add that in. I like it. So, but if you don't want to have to deal with that, again, you can turn it off. Or if you leave it on, maybe you go, okay, well, now I don't need to change the pilot because I'm going to have 2 or 3 sets of pilots, right? We're going to jump in, and unless I want to waste a lot of time at each system, then waiting for pilots to get rested for the next one, as long as I don't want to have to take any multi-mission contracts, you'd be fine. But maybe you say, look, we're going to do that, but we're going to either leave it here or maybe lower it a little bit. I like the flexibility this mod gives you. So Weapon X, I think you did a great job for the options. I really like this. The only thing that I don't see here, I don't think, is a setting for how many perks they might start with, that range. Like, if I'm reading this right, at least for negative, they're going to get whatever they get. Whatever you already have built in, we can only set how many more negative perks they might get hit with as they get injured. However, and then we can set a cap, a total cap, or just a cap of motivation, but we don't get to make an initial determination, because that might be fun too. Maybe you just say, look, they could have 0 to 5, but you can only give them 2 more. Adding a little bit more to that RNG, adding a little bit more to that search for the perfect pilot that you can find. And maybe you can't quite afford him or her when you find them, but you're like, oh, I'll never find a pilot this good again. I need to take this one now. And maybe it means we run with fewer pilots, right? Maybe it means we sell a mech to cover while we earn some more cash to be able to pay for that monthly upkeep on that pilot. I don't know. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and jump in real fast. We have this set for pilot generation and motivation with a maximum positive quirks of 2. So we should jump in. We shouldn't be able to see any pilots that have more than 2. And if they have 2, we shouldn't see the option to train them up another one. So I'm going to do that. Give me just a second to jump into the game. All right, we're in the game. This is our pilot roster now. Oh, and we see they have different levels there. Veteran, regular, regular. I like that a lot. Obviously, if we click on us, we don't get any of those quirks. And I might like to get quirks. I don't know if it's possible to program it in, though. So, Weapon X, if you see this, could you let me know if it's possible to do this? I just assume if it was, and it was reasonably easy to do, it would be in there. And the fact that it's not, I would guess, means it's either not possible or it's just much more difficult. I don't know, but that's us. So let's take a look at Lena Santiago here. So she's got 0 positive quirks and 1 negative. And so we should be able to see that we could train that, and we're possible to get another one here for motivation. Let's check. You've got 0 and 0. Do they start with all? You've got 1. You have 1. I was looking to see if I have anybody that already has a max of 2. So I have a couple people with 1. Let's check the pilot hire. Lieutenant Brewer has none. Tang has 1. 1. Compton has 2 already. So if we hire Compton, we should not have the option, I don't think, to do the motivation. So let's go back over here, find Compton, go to training, and yeah, no motivation. So we can't. So 2 is, as we guessed, sets the total max if you set it for that. So if you don't set that, and I'm going to go ahead and back out of the game, change that setting really quick, and then we'll take a look and, well, when we get back to the menu, we'll talk about it. All right, so we're back. I'm going to change it to motivation only. Positive quirks, default is 6. Sure, I'll put it back to the default as it is. I'm assuming, again, we don't have the choice to get motivation to train. So this is just the total maximum negative. You could just set that at 0 and they'll never get a negative quirk no matter how injured they get. 4 is fine. Okay. And I'm going to just, because we can, minimum is going to be, this is probably going to be a mistake. I'm leaving this up to RNG here. Let's go minimum is 20 and minimum is 0. Maximum is 20. We'll leave it on full range. Quirks are all set. I like that. I'm going to apply it. We're going to create another new game, and we'll go back into the Kestrel Lancer one because that gives us the most number of pilots already hired. All right, let's take a look at our pilots again. So we've got Lena, we've got Gunner, we've got Tori, right? So let's take a look. So 1 out of 2, 0 out of 1, 1 out of 2. Okay. So having raised that means we have gotten a little bit more. We've gotten some positive ones that we weren't getting before. So right here, you can see right here, Ashaki here already has 3 and could have 4. So at our level, you should be able to train Nazari up to 10. And if you average maybe that you're getting, I don't know, how many, that gets 2, that gets 1, that gets 6. But let's say maybe you average 3 per perk if you're good with your choices, right? So that means if we go up to 10, you could have potentially up to an additional 30 points. That's a lot. But you have to kind of hit, you know, even 6 total quirks is a lot. But that gets you something, right? Failed to pull pilot penalty points. Probably because we just started.
Time is money, and we're wasting both.
I fight for you. Deal?
Oh, no. Did that happen because we clicked training and then came back? No?
I will be waiting in the ready room, Commander.
I don't know if that's a bug. In case it is, Weapon X, there it is. So he's got heat management, bigger the explosion, the more they enjoy it, which gives him what? Ballistic proficiency by 1, heat management by 1, evasiveness and shielding by 2. So 4, 5. So we got 6 points out of 3. That's average about 2 per. But let's see what this says. So this one doesn't give us anything. So let's click on Gunner here.
Time is money, and we're wasting
Pilots will perform worse than usual when deploying unwell. This pilot's performance is not degraded. The impacts of wellness are slow reaction times, lowered focus, increased risk of injury, increased risk of death. Okay, based on fatigue and injury, this wellness percentage is going to affect us. That makes sense. Chassis piloted, damage ratio, kills, missions. I love seeing all of that. Yeah, I like that. So the one thing I don't know is Mech Affinity.
Ready to be of assistance, Commander.
Let's see. Do any of the pilots that are hired, is it possible to start with the Mech Affinity? You know what I'm saying? By chassis.
Meet you in the ready room.
Skater here.
I don't see anything up in the description.
To impress, this is Siren.
We have a green pilot here, only 15. A couple regulars. So we got 4. In our 0 to 20, we got 4 options. 3 regulars and a green.
Exploration and fortune.
And we started with a couple veterans, 3 veterans, and 3 regular. Okay, that makes sense. So we can have kind of an A team and a B team maybe. Just out of curiosity. Now, we're not running any other mods here, so I'm just curious as to what mechs we ended up with. So what you could do is you could say each of these mechs belongs to somebody, right? Maybe 2 of these mechs are us, and the others all belong to individual pilots, right? And so as you swap those back and forth, then you have you can get people to build their affinity, right? I like that a lot. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do a quick mission, and we're going to come back and see kind of how that changes, if it shows that affinity built up at all, or what's going with that. So let me find a star map here. We may as well select all our transmissions. Yeah, that's fine. Just to get rid of anything else that might be popping up. So. Oh, and I accepted it, so now I got to... That's fine. It doesn't matter. All we're looking at is affinity within the mechs. And it doesn't matter where that mission is. If it's doing it for the storyline or whether it's just a random one that I picked, it's the same. So I will be back once I've run a mission or 2, and we'll take a look and see how things have changed. All right, before I drop, I've noticed these little checks here. So Lena has a 1 here. So she's never done a mission in the Shadowhawk. So we see here cost to org, ammo explosions, left, right losses, total damage received, all that sort of good stuff. We have it had a 3 until I clicked on it, and then it changed to a 1. And that's now changed to a 2. And now this one's a 2. Oh, it's which screen we're on. We have 3 windows. So window 1 is your standard window here. Window 2 gives you your kind of record within that. And let's go to 3. Tells you your overall pilot record. So this is in the Shadowhawk, and this is overall. Okay, I like that. Let me drop, and we'll come back, and we'll see what else we see when we're done here. All right, back to the in screen. So as you can see, things went okay, right? You have the first one, the guy, hot-headed general goes off and does something, colonel, whatever it was. So in this case, we got a pretty good mix. So Connor, a veteran in our Jenner, managed to get his ass kicked by a spider, actually. And he is incapacitated for 114 days because the CT was destroyed. So he's got a long-term injury. The rest of us were fatigued. 1 day for Lena, 2 for Tori, and 1 day for myself. These 2 did just fine damage-wise, and you can see he just took damage. He didn't really do any, although he did kill 1 vehicle. So, we'll give him that. So now we can look here, and we can see he's got a percentage of 16. So pilot's performance 16, and that has to do with his injuries and everything else. But that's not end of the world. If you needed him, you could throw him back in at that, I assume. 16 it's something, but I mean, this is a 6 just for being just being fatigued for a day. So I don't know that you're truly incapacitated. We'll see. I'm not sure if it'll let you put him in the seat if that continues. So let's go ahead and continue. Hold on. Let's go back over here. Let's go to our battle mechs. We'll fix the 3 that we can fix. That's not going to be fixed, but we'll hit it anyway just because we can, right? So let's go to our barracks and see what it shows us, if anything. So
You pay me, I fight for
a veteran. Let's take a look at Gunner here.
Time is money and we're wasting both.
Don't really see too much else. Now, our veteran is costing us 26, whereas our regular is costing us 17. So there is definitely a cost in there.
Exploration of
Oh, here we go. Resting 2 days. There's our 6%. Okay. Missions 1, kills 6. Damage ratio 3. I like that.
Let's get a move on.
What was my damage ratio? 4.7.
I know your story, and I'm ready to be of assistance.
Tori had a 3.92.
It's an honor to join your company.
Lena had a 9.8. That's pretty darn good. And I'm assuming that's damage done versus damage taken as that ratio. And then we'll see Connor here brings us back to the mean with a 0.648. Yeah, that's really cool. Chassis piloted. Okay, so it's just a total number of chassis. That's it. What can we change here? So we can change their name. Okay. I'm not sure where that plays. One of these is, so name, call sign, and I'm not sure what this one is. I'm not sure where exactly that comes into play. But it's nice that we can play with those. We can change those as we go through. I like that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Let's click our way forward to the next mission. We'll just take money. Why not? And we'll get rid of our tired pilots. Oh, no, that's not quite what I want to do. I want to get rid of the mechs. The tired pilots we'll keep. Let's go black. Oh, no, I want the Kintaro because it's a Kintaro. Actually, Phoenix, Wolverine, and Blackjack and back for support. Now, let's go back to some of our pilots that are, potentially still tired, but versus
Keep sharp, and this is a
with the Minato in there. So Minato doesn't have anything at the moment, right? Nothing there, nothing there. Tori, we see nothing in a Wolverine, but we can see damage done there. Does it show? Tori, I don't remember which mech Tori was in before. We're just here. Does it tell us maybe record? Below average. Oh, this is our affinity. Oh, so here's our, that's overall skill. Hold on. No proficiency. Hold on, let's see. Does it tell us? So we don't see. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out what that mech is. Hunchback? Yes. Yes. So, affinity. Below average proficiency with this mech chassis. The impacts our affinity are improved or degraded reaction times, yeah. So, because we're below average, we're taking a little bit of a hit. We're getting a -5 sensor range, -5 mech acceleration. You can read them. Similar to what we'd be getting for being tired, right? So we're looking at a 6% here, and then a 5% for not being familiar in the mech itself. And then obviously the more missions you do, the better they're going to get in all of that. And those will go up. I like that a lot. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to leave this one here. I said I'll leave links down below for the 330's Pilot Overhaul. Thank you very much, Weapon X. I hope I'm parsing that name correctly there. It's a great mod, and you've just made it so much better. Like, this mod, in and of itself, in my opinion, changes the game experience. You don't have to have 8 billion other mods. You don't need to bring in every mech from Sarna. You don't need to create 15 of your own custom weapons that are all overpowered. You don't need to do any of that. This mod, in and of itself, changes the experience of the game. I like games where your character is constantly evolving with the experience of whatever might be happening. I like those role-playing game elements where you get skills, you get whatever that may be. I want characters to evolve. And this means that not only does our main character evolve kind of sort of through the storyline, in fact, at this point, our main character only evolves the least, although we do have this affinity built in as well. And I assume, yeah, I've got none in the Gintaro. But our supporting cast also evolves and gives you so much more connection to the characters you have. And that only helps the storyline. That increases the drama every time you drop. Is that character's been with you since day one and has just gotten better and better and it's amazing. And oh my God, now that character's mech is in tough shape. What do you do? Do you have to finish the mission? Do you abort? Where do you go with that? The stories that you can tell with the game increase exponentially because of this mod and because of the evolution of characters and the additional skills and the choices that you have, not just in the early setup portion of the game, and don't underestimate that, but also as the game goes on, as you train your characters, as you deal with injuries and fatigue and cost of creating your characters and finding that perfect character. And if you're playing the main storyline, the characters that you pick up, right? There's what I can think of about 3 characters at least that you can pick up through the various quest storylines. So how do they turn out? Are you going to keep them forever because of that storyline connection? But if so, they do need to evolve, because otherwise you're just going to leave them behind as soon as you get a little bit more experience. So I'm going to give this one 2 thumbs up. Really, really impressive work. I really, really like it. Yeah, great job, Weapon X. And for the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed this one. Links down below in the doobly-doo. We'll see you next time. Cheers.